I am 80 years old. It is a strange number to say out loud. When you are young, sounds like a different species entirely, something far away and theoretical. But then you blink, just once or twice it seems, and you are here. You are sitting in a chair that is very comfortable, in a room that is very quiet, looking at hands that you don't quite recognize as your own. I have been thinking a lot lately about stories. We all tell ourselves stories about our lives. We have to. It is how we make sense of the chaos. We cast ourselves as the protagonist, naturally, the hero, the one who is misunderstood, the one who is working hard, the one who is carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
For 50 years, that is the story I told myself. I was the responsible one. I was the provider. I was the one who made sure the bills were paid and the future was secure. I was the strong one. But clarity is a cruel gift that often arrives only when you no longer have the energy to do anything about it. Sitting here, in the silence of this beautiful, empty apartment, I have realized something devastating. I wasn't the hero of my life. I was the villain. I don't mean a villain in the movie sense. I didn't rob banks, or twirl a mustache, or plot the destruction of the world. Real-life villains are much quieter than that. Real-life villains are people who think they are doing the right thing, while they slowly, methodically starve the people who love them. I starved them of me. I look at the photos on my wall. There is one of me in my office back in my 30s. I look so sharp. I'm wearing a tailored suit, holding a pen, sitting at a desk that is completely organized. I remember that day. I remember feeling so important. I had deadlines. I had people relying on me. I had a title. I felt that the world would stop turning if I didn't finish the paperwork in front of me. I look at that woman and I want to scream at her. I want to shake her, because I know what was happening outside the frame of that picture. That was the year my husband Thomas asked if we could take a trip to the coast. Just a week. He bought a map. He circled the towns. He was so excited. I told him I couldn't. Not now, I said. It's the busy season. The firm needs me. Next year, Thomas. We'll go next year. I said next year to him for a decade. I wasn't trying to be cruel. That's the insidiousness of it. I truly believed I was doing it for us. I told myself that I was working this hard so we could have a better retirement, so we could have this apartment, so we could have security. I convinced myself that my absence was a form of love. That is the lie we tell ourselves to justify our ambition. We say we are doing it for the family, but really, we are doing it for our own ego. I liked being needed by the office. I liked the validation of a problem solved. It was easier to solve a crisis at work than to sit in the quiet intimacy of a dinner table and just be with someone. Thomas stopped asking about the coast eventually. He stopped asking about the dinners too. There is another photo in the album. A group of us at a table laughing. My friend Emma is there. She had a laugh that could crack a window. We were so young. I remember when Emma got sick. It wasn't life-threatening at first, just lingering. She called me on a Tuesday. I was in a meeting. I let it go to voicemail. I listened to it later. She just wanted to talk. She was lonely. I called her back 2 days later. "I'm so swamped, Emma," I said. "Let's grab coffee when this project wraps up, I promise." The project wrapped up. Then the next one started. Then the holidays came. Then it was winter. I didn't see Emma for 6 months. When I finally made the time, she was tired. The spark was gone. We had coffee, but the gap between us had grown too wide to bridge with a 20-minute conversation. She died 3 years later. I was the villain because I treated people like tasks. I treated relationships like appointments that could be rescheduled. I thought people would always be there, suspended in stasis, waiting for me to be ready to love them. I thought I owned time. That is the arrogance of the villain. I remember the evenings in this house, this apartment that I worked so hard to buy. It is undeniable that it is a beautiful place. The light hits the floorboards in the afternoon, and it glows warm and gold. But walls do not hug you. Furniture does not ask you how your day was. Thomas used to sit in that armchair by the window. He would read. Sometimes he would look up when I came in, late, trailing the stress of the office behind me like a heavy coat. "You look tired," he would say. "I am tired," I would snap back. "I'm doing this for us." He would just nod and go back to his book. I see now that he was lonely. He was married to a woman who was married to her calendar. He learned to live without me while I was living right next to him. He cultivated his own garden, his own routine, his own quiet thoughts. He stopped sharing them with me because he knew I wasn't really listening. I was physically present, perhaps, but my mind was always on the next day, the next meeting, the next obligation. I turned him into a roommate. The turning point wasn't a dramatic explosion. It wasn't a divorce. It was quieter than that. It was the day he died. It was sudden. A Tuesday. Tuesdays are terrible days for your life to end. They are so mundane. I was at the hospital. I held his hand. It was cold. And I sat there looking at this man I had been married to for 40 years. And I realized I didn't know what book he was reading when he left the house that morning. I didn't know what his favorite song had been for the last 5 years. I didn't know who he talked to on the phone when I was at work. I had been so busy building a future for us that I had missed the entire present. After the funeral, everyone told me how strong I was. "You're so resilient," they said. "You've always been the rock." They didn't see the truth. They didn't see that my strength was just a callus. I had hardened myself against the softness of life because softness takes time. Softness is inefficient. I came back to this apartment and the silence was deafening. It wasn't a peaceful silence. It was an accusing silence. I walked into his study. I found a journal in his desk. I almost didn't read it. I felt like an intruder, but I opened it. The entries were short. Observations about the weather, notes about the birds he saw from the window. And then, woven through it, were lines about me. "She is working late again. I made a stew, but I'll put it in the fridge. She looks so stressed. I wish she would sit with me. I went to the park alone today. Saw a couple holding hands. Miss her." He wasn't angry in the journal. That would have been easier to bear. If he had been furious, I could have defended myself. I could have argued my case. But he wasn't angry. He was just resigned. He had accepted that I was unavailable. He had accepted that he was second place to my ambition. That broke me. I realized then that while I thought I was sacrificing myself for our life, I was actually sacrificing him. I was the one deciding that our time together wasn't as valuable as a promotion or a paycheck or a clean house. I am 80 now. My calendar is completely empty. I have no meetings. I have no deadlines. The phone rarely rings. I have all the time in the world and no one to give it to. I realized I was the villain because I took the most precious thing in the world, the attention of the people who loved me, and I treated it like a nuisance. I treated their desire for my time as a demand rather than a gift. I see young people now. I see my niece. She is 30. She is just like I was. She is always checking her watch. She is always talking about how crazy work is. She is always saying next month or after the holidays. I look at her and I want to grab her hands. I want to tell her that work will replace her in a week if she dies. I want to tell her that the important email she is sending during Sunday dinner will be deleted and forgotten by Tuesday. But I know she won't listen. Because when you are the hero of your own story, you can't imagine that you might be wrong. You think you are noble. You think the people asking for your time just don't understand the pressure you are under. You don't realize until the end that the pressure was self-imposed. I sit here in the evenings and I watch the sun go down. It is a beautiful view. I can see the city lights turning on, one by one. I talk to Thomas sometimes, out loud. I tell him about the book I am reading. I tell him about the tea I am drinking. I tell him I am sorry. I say, I am here now, Thomas. I am finally not busy. But the chair is empty. If you are listening to this, and you are feeling righteous about how hard you are working, if you are feeling irritated that your partner or your mother or your friend wants to talk when you have things to do, please stop. Just stop for a second. Look at them. Really look at them. You are telling yourself a story that you are doing this for them. But ask yourself if that is true. Or are you doing it because it makes you feel safe? Are you doing it because you are afraid of the stillness? The villain isn't the person who wants to hurt others. The villain is the person who is too focused on their own narrative to see the damage they are doing to the supporting cast. I have a comfortable life. I am safe. I am warm. I have money in the bank. But I would give every single penny. I would give this apartment. I would give the view. I would give my pension. I would give it all. Just to have one of those Tuesday evenings back. Just to sit in the chair opposite him while he reads his book and have him look up and smile at me. I would not be tired this time. I would not be distracted. I would look back at him and I would say, I am here. I am right here. But I cannot buy a Tuesday, no matter how much I saved. The story ends the same way for all of us. The screen goes black, the credits don't roll, it just ends. And when you are sitting where I am, in the final chapter, you don't care about the plot. You don't care about the achievements or the conquests or the victories. You only care about the characters. And you realize with a breaking heart that you wrote them out of the script. Don't be the villain. Be the person who has time. It is the only currency that matters. I am going to make a cup of tea now. I am going to sit by the window. I am going to watch the world continue to spin, busy and frantic and important. And I am going to miss him. That is my penance. And that is my truth.